Central African Republic. I tell you, it was really one of the best experiences of my life in terms of you could not have a better immersion travel experience.
Episode number 400. Yes, 400 episodes. This is Zack Smith on Humanitarian Adventure.
You're listening to the Adventure Sports Podcast, brought to you by 180 Tech. We talk with adventurers from around the globe to bring you the inspiration and motivation you need to get started in the outdoors or to keep you moving if you're already there. This episode is brought to you in part by Kind. Kind makes delicious, healthy snacks using whole ingredients. If you guys haven't tried it yet, their pressed bars by Kind are the best in my opinion. Go try the mango apple chia. It's awesome. We've got a special offer for you guys to try 20 Kind snacks with their new snack pack. You can enjoy 50% off and free shipping on your first snack pack when you subscribe to it through Snack Club, which is Kind's monthly snacks subscription service. Go to kindsnacks.com/sports for more details. That's kindsnacks.com/sports to learn more and to subscribe to the snack pack.
400 episodes. Can you believe it? I'm not sure that I can. That's 400 interviews with great, amazing guests promoting their own adventure sports, teaching us how to get out there and have fun. I can't believe 400 episodes have gone by already. It's been so much fun and such an honor to be a part of the Adventure Sports Podcast, to get to meet such amazing people and to allow them to have a medium where they can share their passion for adventure with you. So I want to celebrate that 400 episodes. It's a lot of interviews. It's a lot of adventure. Listen to one episode each day, and you won't finish in a year. Listen to a couple of episodes each week, and it'll take you more than 4 years to get through all of these episodes. We have so much adventure on tap for you. If you go to adventuresportspodcast.com, click on the episode categories link, then you can get access to all of these 400 episodes. I have an episode 400 celebration challenge for you. When I say you, I mean you, Greg, John, Mike, George, Pete, Lisa, Bonnie, Sherry, for you. Megan, Jennifer, for you. If I didn't get your name, I'm sorry, it's still for you. This challenge has a lot to do with today's show. Today's show is a repeat show from Zack Smith, who talked to us about humanitarian adventure work, humanitarian work overseas. And I thought it might inspire us, talking about adventure. You don't have to travel overseas, though, to make a difference and to have an adventure today. So will you help us at the Adventure Sports Podcast celebrate 400 episodes by doing something unexpected, some unexpected act of kindness for someone else today? Could be anything. I'm sure that the opportunity, if you look for it, will pop right up. Make your world a little better place. Make your heart a little better place. Then get out there and have some fun. Hey, I've got a great guy on the horn here today to interview for you. This is Zack Smith. And Zack grew up in the Los Angeles area, and he got involved working with firefighters, and that developed into all sorts of amazing things. He was a firefighter for about 16 years, and he really got into tech rescue and eventually became a paramedic. That led to humanitarian work overseas in Nigeria, which started out in 2012, and that's going to be the main focus of our show today. The adventurous side of humanitarian work, where you get to do kind of the adventure travel and engage with people and make a difference in the world. So I'm really excited to visit with Zack about that. And about a year ago, Zack started Core Third. So some of the needs that he saw for humanitarian work in Africa led him to coming up with some solutions. And so we're going to visit about that too. Really neat stuff. Zack, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it's my pleasure. I want to talk about humanitarian work, but first, let's kind of get a little background on who you are. So you grew up around California. What's your story there? Yeah, so
definitely a Southern California kid, North Orange County, South LA, Long Beach area. Really was part of the surf crowd scene, played water polo and swam, and was really into aquatic sports and stuff, even into high school. in college. And that led me to getting into lifeguarding for LA County. As you mentioned, I got into emergency services really young and fell in love with that type of organization. Literally, saving lives every day on the beach and being part of an amazing camaraderie of watermen and women. And it really started a foundation for my career. So years earlier in high school, I had gone on 2 humanitarian missions, building missions, with a group called Teen Missions and TEEN missions, and they're based out of Merritt Island, Florida. And I went to Israel in '94 and then Nepal in '96, and that really gave a foundation of service to me that I really have not turned back from. And an adventure, like travel paradigm, and really like learning new people groups and new experiences that it got in my blood and I couldn't get away from it. So that really has carried on to today.
Oh, that's really cool. I had the blessing and the honor to do a little bit of that work years ago, and it was a life-changing experience. So I really believe in it, and that's one reason why I wanted to have you on the show, so you could share that with our listeners. Adventure travel is awesome, and I think travel is very, very valuable on its own accord. Just seeing how other cultures operate in interfacing with people in other places and seeing the world and connecting with that is so valuable. But when you can actually go the next step and make a difference in people's lives, that's even better. You get to engage with the people even more, and you're making a real difference in the world. So how cool is that?
It's really the coolest. I mean, there's definitely like a selfish side of this whole humanitarian work that I love. I mean, I love the travel, the going, the deploying, the camaraderie with the team, that sort of thing. But it's so blended in such a perfect way with giving at the same time. So you have this super amazing connection with the people group you're working with, and if it's done in the right way, and there's this connections that you'll have forever. Some of my absolute closest friends are from Nigeria, and because they're in service together and we work together, and it's just amazing. I love going back there. I'm considered part of the group down there in Ozu, the family network, and it's just wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell us about Nigeria as a country, as a landscape. What is it like?
Well, so Nigeria is a pretty rich country, actually. It's quite prosperous in terms of the African nations, especially the area around Lagos, and it's a huge metropolis with a lot of money flowing into it. A lot of production. I mean, there's a lot going on, and you have a people group that is, as a whole, that in southern Nigeria, the Igbos are incredibly industrious and entrepreneurial people in general. You've probably had a phone call or some type of scam go on in the future, but originating in Nigeria, and that really is, I think, what you tend to see is a real industrious people group. People have a ton of energy, and but there still is a lot of lost people in terms of services. There's not a lot of, in southeast Nigeria where I work. There's really an underserved people group in general. Especially when it comes to medicine and infrastructure and just all, water, power, medicine are the huge things down there that are lacking. So that causes some real social economic strain, and we're down there hopefully helping them fix some of those problems around the cities we work in. So yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So is Nigeria? I've not been to Nigeria, so I'm just going to play dumb here. Is Nigeria more like a savanna or a jungle or temperate climate? What are we talking about?
Yeah, so we're right north of the equator. The equator, I think, runs through Gabon, which is about 600 miles to the south. I think I'm right in that. So we're north of that, but right on the equator. So quite jungly, kind of interesting. I worked in Burma for a long time, and the same stuff that grows in Burma and the jungles in Burma, you think of Burma as a really jungly place. It also grows in Nigeria. So you have like mangoes and coconuts and just incredibly good bananas and plantains, just all the stuff you'd think in a jungle climate. Yeah, it grows there. And incredible. I mean, the mangoes there are just absolutely the best. The pineapples, just knock Hawaii's pineapples out of the park. I mean, they're better, I think. But yeah, so it's a cool, a really amazing climate. You know, you have rainy season and dry season. You don't really have the winters like we have. They're just wet versus dry. Yeah, it's just that northern. Yeah, but savanna. You're right. It's more of there is savannas too, as you go a little bit north of where we are, and then to the east you have definitely just that sub-Saharan desert start. So yeah.
You know, I think for a lot of people in the West, it's just a kind of a landscape and a climate that not many of us get to visit and experience. So that probably takes some adjusting.
It does. It's hot a lot of the times we go. So I usually go in June or through September, that area, and then again in December. And those times of years are quite hot. We're always dealing with temperatures between the 90s and 100 with good humidity. And so it takes generally for me about 4 days to get adjusted to the climate. And then where I start feeling okay and I equate it a lot of times to altitude. You know, when you're in these hot climates, you kind of feel like you're at altitude for a while. You know, you're kind of slothful and you don't want to move too fast and all that. So it's that same type of thing, but you're hot instead of cold and then hard to breathe. So, yeah.
Well, how did you get started doing humanitarian work there?
Yeah, so I started humanitarian work in general in my adult life in let's say 2010, right after the earthquakes in Haiti. I went down with a group called Team Rubicon, or we weren't actually a group at the time. It was just a bunch of veterans. I wasn't one of the veterans, but they're taking firefighters and vets at the same time and like coupling them in these teams to go work in Haiti right after the earthquake. So we did some amazing work down there and raised a lot of money just from people hearing about what we were doing. We really didn't even ask. It just all of a sudden a ton of money came in and we started this organization called Team Rubicon. And they take vets and put them on now the domestic disaster field, so here in the United States, and then they purpose vets into those roles, working within volunteer disaster cleanup stuff. At the time, I was running, after Haiti, I started running their medical teams internationally, and became their director of operations, and really got into humanitarian work in the medical sense, and started to learn it. And we grew it, and now that organization has 40,000 members and going strong. But I fell in love with a couple places on the globe that I started working out really diligently, and stuck with them. I started working with the Karen and Shan people group in Burma that were really struggling against for freedom against the communist government. And then in South Sudan, where we helped establish a hospital and run it for a couple of years before the civil war started. So, and then then in Nigeria was another spin-off project of Team Rubicon that started because I had a friend named James Imakwe that I got to know in Washington, D.C., and he was from Ozu. and he asked me to help design a clinic for his hometown there in Ozu, Nigeria, and we did that, and in 2012, and we raised the funds, had it built, started sending containers of medical equipment over that were donated, and we had it up and running. We've run there's 19 medical teams there now, so 19 different missions of U.S. Medical teams. So it's been pretty successful.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So why would you encourage other people to consider humanitarian work as a part of their life?
I don't know if I would. I mean, it's definitely a you either have it or you don't. I still rub shoulders with a lot of firemen, and either I've noticed you either have it or you don't. Either it's in your blood to do this stuff, or it's not. I don't ever push people to, hey, come with me. I'm all like, hey, I do this. Hey, if you ever want to go, it's open to you. Because I really want this, this whole idea of going and helping is something that's innate, that it's either a dream you have, a calling you have. So I just present it to people, and if they're interested, I say, hey, we have an outlet for you to do that. But yeah, I love taking students. I'll tell you, I think that's been our biggest success. Is I've been taking nursing and medical students for the last couple of years over there, and that is the most rewarding thing I do. I love seeing this spark in them early on in their career for a career of service, where they know they can take their vacation time from either nursing or being a doc, and come over and help. And we create that outlet, and it really stays with them. We have a lot of returning students now that are practitioners that work with us, that have been with us on prior missions. It's really successful.
Oh, that's cool. So tell us about your clinic that you built over there.
Yeah, so the clinic in Ozu, we call it Upon This Rock Medical Center. It's really not that big. We have, it's about 7 rooms. We have an OR in there, a theater, a surgical theater. We have a trauma room that we bring in the critical patients to. We have a bunch of meeting rooms, or just clinic rooms you can come and meet a doc in. And then a receptionist room with a waiting area and that sort of thing out front. And it's really well built. It's really cool. James is an engineer. The guy I work with, James McQuay, he's a civil engineer. So he really built this thing like he builds roads, just really sturdy. And it's well put together, and it's a good place. So we also have an ambulance that I built a couple years ago, 2014, and sent it over there. We took a Toyota Sequoia, a 2004 Toyota Sequoia, and we transferred all the equipment and fixtures from a Leader ambulance, which is the ambulance we use on the West Coast here, and we put it in this vehicle, this Toyota Sequoia, and then beefed up the suspension a little bit, put a light bar on it, and made it look like an ambulance and sent it over. And it's been doing quite well in the dirt roads around our hospital. We have 28 different villages around our hospital we're able to access with this vehicle, and put on deworming clinics. We take portable ultrasounds up there to check on mothers who are having babies. We do, obviously emergency stuff with it. Just people get a hold of us just over cell phone. We go out and do the classic emergency stuff, and then we can now transport patients that need a higher level of care to our sister hospital 2 hours away from us. That is a federal medical system center that has like a CT scanner and some things that we don't have. So
wow,
yeah.
I'm catching a kind of a theme here that you started helping people on the beach as a kid as a lifeguard, and you connected with it, and over time it's grown into this. Wow, what an organization, and how many lives are you impacting there in Nigeria? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's fun. I'll tell you, it's a blast. It's hard. It's not just. I like the struggle. It's not. It's definitely not easy. You're dealing with just a place that has limited resources. Sub-Saharan Africa is fraught with problems, no matter where you turn. But I love that. I love the challenge, and gosh, I'll tell you, the people are just so real. So it's just, this is, when you talk to somebody, it's what you get. It's just right in front of you. It's just no beating around the bush. I love the culture. And there's just this amazing synergy between the Abom region that we're in and our organization. And that's the biggest thing that I love, is just the people. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, let's talk about the adventure flavor of this a little bit. So for a while, you were flying around assisting with surgeries out of a Cessna, right?
Yeah, that was interesting. That we did that with Team Rubicon, a couple missions, and it was we went with some docs from George Washington University, and really at the time it was the only way to reach some of these places inside of South Sudan, Central African Republic, was to fly there. It would be weeks and weeks to actually drive to these places, if you could even get there, because the roads are so bad.
Wow.
So we had a surgical suite pretty much inside of our airplane, the equipment, so we could take it out, find a room that was somewhat clean, and set up sterile fields and lighting, and we had some equipment, and we were able to set that up and work with our doc at the time, Dr. Gilhead, and really did some great work. So beyond clinic work, because we all did that too. So I remember in one of the places we worked that hadn't seen a doctor for a long time, a place called Pibor, South Sudan. There were 1,000+ people lined up just to see us. And just everyone. I remember every woman I saw had some type of pelvic inflammatory disease because of an STD.
Wow.
And if you think about, and where that came from is from a recent war with North Sudan, where they used rape as a weapon, and these diseases over time cause women to be sterile. So these women were pleading with us. They wanted to have babies and they couldn't. It was just the worst. Us being there in such a short amount of time, the therapies for that would take a long time. And there are some microsurgeries you can have to get the scarring out, but we just didn't. There was no way we could do that.
Wow.
So it was a very sad situation. I'll never forget that.
I think it's real easy, for us in the West, where we have easy access to medicine and where war really hasn't been a recent occurrence, right? It's easy for us to not know what life can be like in some of these places, how tough it can be, and some of the hardships that people face. It's heartbreaking. It really is.
Yeah, and to think, that, we were there 2010, 11, 12. Since then, that whole region is in a civil war. The hospital I worked really closely with in Bor, in a place called Bor, the patients that at this hospital, when the war started, they were all murdered in their beds. And the Dr. Ajax, a guy that I'm very close to, that was working at the hospital at the time, had to run with his family out in the bush, run for his life. And he's a Canadian citizen, and Canadian Special Forces came in about a week later and picked him up after they were getting cell phone messages from him. But he since came and worked with us for about a year in Nigeria before it was safe for him to go back. Incredible guy, incredible. So he was actually one of the lost boys that came early on to Ethiopia and were part of that UN program called the Lost Boy Program. That ended up coming to the United States, and he ended up getting a medical degree in Canada. So interesting story within itself. He's a movie could be made on that guy.
Camp Crate 3, 2, 1.
So we had some customers in the backcountry call us because they were concerned they had altitude sickness. And we were able to talk them down, get them to a safe place, create an emergency plan. We were willing to do anything we needed to get them out of there. But they ended up taking our advice, still having a really good trip. Camp Crate is a gear rental trip planning service. We will plan a backpacking trip for you if you don't have one planned, and then we rent you all the gear, send it to your house, send it to your hotel. Anywhere in the U.S., we will ship you gear. And then once you're done, you put it back in the box and return it back to us. Most of our customers are first-timers, so we want to give you the confidence to go out into the wilderness with the right gear and with the know-how. With 24/7 support, we're able to really make you feel comfortable out there while at the same time definitely challenging yourself. A lot of people have told us it's been life-changing for them or their best trip they've ever done. Campcrate.net.
Got it, Mason. That's a take. By now, you certainly know who Bent Gate is. That's for a great reason. Bent Gate Mountaineering has been sponsoring the Adventure Sports Podcast almost from the beginning, and we really appreciate that. They've made it possible for all the great shows to continue coming your way. We want to say thanks by reminding you to go to them for your backcountry gear. If you live in Colorado, then just stop by their store in Golden. If not, go to bentgate.com. They have what you need, from the latest ultralight gear to the tried and true classics for climbing, hiking, and camping, like Arc'teryx, Hilleberg, Nemo, Western Mountaineering, and many more. Need advice? They have you covered there too. Their staff are passionate adventurers who can offer help from their own experiences. Bentgate also hosts lots of events and speakers. Check out their website to see the schedule and to see all of their products. Help take care of the Adventure Sports Podcast by getting your gear from Bentgate Mountaineering. You tell me about 1,000 people lined up just in one location looking for help, and everybody has a real story to tell.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned this doctor from that area that got his education and went back to serve, and there's so many stories. When you start engaging with people like this, what amazing life experiences you have.
Yeah, you mentioned the adventure travel part of it. It really when you're dealing with this in this type of realm, humanitarian medicine, it is everything's an adventure. You don't see it at the time, but you look back and you're like, wow, what did I just do? It's on that trip, spending a month in the back of a Cessna. There's 2 different months. We were on the heels of Joseph Kony at one point in Central African Republic. We flew into a town. I forget the exact one at this point, where Joseph Kony had been there a month before, and we were treating some wounds made by his machetes a month before, and even ran into a U.S. military team that was a hunter team for him, and their medics ended up working with us for a couple of days. So that was just super, super interesting, working shoulder to shoulder with those 18 Delta medics. Yeah. But yeah, I just talked to you when I came back from Nigeria and was stuck in this airport in Port Harcourt for 2 days where there was like these mini riots going on like all around me and fist fights and here I was feeling the angst of a Nigerian who couldn't get out of their own airport, right?
Wow.
And
yeah.
just, in the same strife they're in and feeling it and living it. And that really was an adventure in and of itself. But just getting to OR to work the booth at OR a couple weeks ago. But anyway, I love the adventure travel part, and that's one of the reasons why I went in that direction of creating gear for it, because we had some great ideas coming out of that.
Oh yeah, no doubt. So. The best way to have a great idea is to look for a need and then find a way to meet the need. And man, when you're traveling around Africa working in these conditions, you see a lot of needs.
Oh yeah.
So man, there's got to be an endless supply of ideas. And if necessity is a mother of invention, then she must have 1 million children there in Africa.
Oh, and she does. The ingenuity is incredible. I just saw a solar lamp that I'm actually looking at recreating that I saw in a market in Nigeria in Ozobom, and it was just such a simple, like, this PVC lantern. I was like, oh my gosh, that is so simple and so straightforward, and I want to give this guy royalties, but who made it? But I don't know who he is. He's just it was a great idea. So yes, all that stuff's all over, from, like, figuring out how to carry water better to fixing a bicycle with just some of the most rudimentary wires and having nothing but fixing things, fixing generators that way, or motorbikes. You're right. I've seen it all over.
It's so cool. And, people figure stuff out, and the ingenuity is really fun. It's fascinating when it's not done for them, how they figure out a way to get it done. Right.
Yeah. And that's, you're so right. And that's what I see in, the adventure sports, your adventure nomad within the United States. You and I talked about this a little bit at OR. I see living the life of a surf bum and a ski bum and a lifeguard living summers on the beach and stuff out of a van. I saw this connection between the lifestyle I lead. I've led and still try to lead sometimes as a weekend warrior now. And then your sub-Saharan, family that may live 10 or 20 places within their life. They're real migrant in the way they live, in general. And I see this connection. There's, like, way that we figure out life when we take it to an extreme. We take it to its end. We don't live with a lot of luxury. We have either we're put there on purpose, or because we love it, or we're there because we have to be there. There still are these same problems that need to be solved on either end, and it's really really fun to see that and to live with it and around it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, this stuff is a little bit better than all the contraptions on Gilligan's Island, huh?
Yeah.
Gilligan pedaling the bamboo bicycle to generate electricity with coconut shells somehow.
Can't everything be taken back to an episode of Gilligan at some point?
I think they addressed everything, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, that's funny. So I got to ask, I got to fly over Africa, on a commercial jet. But you got to fly for extended periods over Africa in a Cessna, so you're closer to the ground and landing on, I imagine, some amazing runways. What was that like? Oh,
I tell you, it was really one of the best experiences of my life in terms of you could not have a better immersion travel experience than I'd say the first mission I had there. The first mission, we weren't allowed into Central African Republic because of what was going on with some American missions to hunt Joseph Kony, where our second one we could. And so we were we were stuck in this place called Yambio, and we're like, okay, well, what do we do now? And we had 3 more days left in that we had the Cessna for, and we've pretty much hit our contacts in South Sudan. We're thinking, I guess we could go try to work ourselves into another clinic somewhere that's already operating, but we didn't have an itinerary anymore, and we were set on going into Central African Republic and couldn't. So we sat around for 2 days in this airport as a bunch of these South African mercenaries were running by us, and these mules, and these vehicles called mules. They're crazy. They're crazy Unimog looking things, and I'm just like pulling my hair out. I just want to get into Central African Republic. So finally, we call index on this whole thing. We're like, you know what, we're gonna go do something. So we all put our heads together, and we're like, let's go down to a safari park and just have the last 2 days of our trip just have a good time. Like, let's debrief this whole thing, because we were just dirty and at our wits' end. And So we fly into Masai Mara in our own Cessna, like where they filmed out of Africa.
Right.
And it was just like, you could not have like a more like amazing experience out of it. So sometimes, even though we've been living in the dirt, and at one point in Pibor, thousands of scorpions were around our bug nets.
Wow.
Because they came out of the ground in the middle of the night with sick and cool air. And then here I am the next day living in a 5-star safari hut, in Masai Mara. So it was definitely, that was a cool way to end that trip. Could never do that one again. It was just too many pieces had to fall together. But that was a cool experience. And definitely the Cessna part of it. We flew with African Inland Missions, and one of the pilots actually donated his vacation time to fly us around, so it wouldn't be as expensive, because he believed that much in what we were doing. And that's how different, even like the mission groups he works with in East Africa, how like far and beyond this group, our group was going and doing stuff medically that other groups like don't do. He was that much behind it. So it was an amazing time. So yeah.
So what inspires you, Zach? You're out there doing a lot of stuff. It's got to be exhausting. What keeps you rolling?
You and I touched on a little bit, but definitely have a strong Christian faith that I think is an innate drive for seeing human nature in really a rudimentary way. Needs that need to be fulfilled, and kind of this fulfillment that's beyond me personally, but a spiritual fulfillment that everyone needs on top of that. And then in the center of giving, in that it has a regenerative aspect in myself, where it's almost like a drug. I got to tell you, it's being in the midst of that and knowing that need, that there's one more patient that I could treat, one more life that could be saved. It's definitely a something you get hooked on, and the other aspect is the best friends you make are the people that you work alongside with. Oh, yeah. And over the years, that I've never had stronger bonds with some people that just the most amazing people that would be willing to do this type of stuff. So I almost equate it to like the whole I mean, it's kind of been overused, but the whole Matrix thing, where you really see the world for what it is by taking that that pill, as he did in the movie, that made him see behind all the Matrix, right? But
yeah,
in a way, there's this part of the world that we in the United States just don't see, that don't grasp. The doc that I worked with for a number of years, Dr. Glenn Gilhood, he called them the bottom billion of the world, the way people really live. And you could see with Dr. Gilhood, he didn't actually come alive until he was able to really live. And he would always say, "This is really living." And he would love it. He felt most alive, and I do too when I'm with people that are living life just like most of the people in the world are. Because I'm here in Roseville, California. That's a pretty amazing place to live. I don't think this is really living. It's kind of this la la land,
when I spent 5 weeks in Kenya several years back now, I thought that it would be kind of a culture shock when I went there. But the reality is, it was coming home that was the hard part.
You got it.
And that's, I think, is what you're kind of alluding to. You get home, you're like, whoa, what is this? Mm-hmm. How is it that I get to do this and live in this way? And, that actually was tough. I had to do some soul searching.
Yep. Yeah, I'll tell you, I've had some big time problems coming home. Adjusting.
Yeah.
And especially after like going down to Haiti and stuff, we're just being part of the suffering. I remember one night in Haiti, one of the nights before I left, and we were a good buddy of mine, Glenn Penson, who he's a fireman, paramedic in Beverly Hills Fire, and we were going around just giving out pain medication out of these big bottles, and just like switching, cleaning it, switching syringes, like giving pain medication to one patient, and then going to the next patient, doing an assessment, giving more pain medication. And we did this for hundreds, if not 1,000 patients.
Wow.
All night long. And they all had broken bones, like all either amputated, head wounds, and they were, it was in the worst of conditions. And that will never leave me, that the night before, just having to leave that because I was going to miss my flight. And that was like, I would have to be there for another week, but right. I had to go, but I didn't want to. And that was the syndrome of the, one more patient syndrome. If I could just treat one more patient. And that, I always come back to that. I don't want to leave. I want to continue to be here. And then that transition home of like, why am I here? What am I doing? Why am I sleeping in a Tempur-Pedic bed right now? Like, come on, this is cush. Why can I open my refrigerator right now and grab food? I mean, this isn't real. And that's totally something I've had to deal with, and I still deal with, and my family deals with, and because I'm not the nicest person coming home, and I'm kind of processing this stuff. So, it's real, and that's a real thing for humanitarian workers and missionaries in general to deal with that stuff.
Oh man, no doubt. I think a lot of our listeners are sitting here saying, I don't know if I could do it, but man, maybe I should try. What advice do you have for people who, they're the people that they have it, like you said. Either you have this desire or you don't. But these are the ones who are saying, I've got to try something. How do they get started doing stuff like this?
Yeah, what I've noticed, it's easier for younger people to do this stuff. And I would say if you're a younger person and you have this bug, just do it. Just do it. Drop everything you're doing and go find an outlet to work with and go do it. If you're older, it really affects people like more when you're older. Like I'd say like over 30, it's like there's a lot of things within your life that this can start disrupting emotionally, spiritually, and then like because you have family and kids, it's a big investment more. So I'd really take pause and really consider, why you're going and know that what you're jumping into is uncomfortable, you're going to have, not every medical mission or every humanitarian mission is perfect. So there's going to be flaws. There's going to be, interpersonal stuff going on within a team. You're not going to always agree with certain things. That there's definitely, it's definitely an adventure, every team you go on. So really take stock of who you are, why you want to go, this desire within inside you, where is it coming from? And for your first one, make it a good experience. So try to tailor that as much as you can. But if you're younger, it's really just, I just say go, just do it. And that's really where I was early on, even in high school on those formative missions, that really gave me the outlook and the stamina and to the mental stamina to fulfill some of this stuff. Cause it really working in, underserved people groups is one of the most frustrating things you could ever do. If you don't have a really high threshold for that type of stuff, for being in just like problems that are so hard to solve, being able to have to deal with government officials that just will not work with you or for you, to supplies that are outdated or not working, to generators that won't work, to cars that won't start. It's you have to find that as almost a fulfilling thing. Turn it around and say, hey, this is part of the experience. We have this saying that's like, that's Africa, baby. when something like that happens. So really take stock of who you are before you go.
Hey, ASP listeners, have you ever tried a Kind Bar? You may have seen them in your local grocery store, coffee shop, or gym. They make delicious, healthy snacks using whole ingredients. Well, if you're ready to try some tasty and healthy snacks, we've got a special deal for you. Try 20 Kind snacks from 7 of their unique product lines with their new snack pack. You can enjoy 50% off and free shipping on your first snack pack when you subscribe to it through their Snack Club. Snack Club is Kind's monthly snack subscription service. Go to kindsnacks.com/sports for more details on that. I love their pressed bars like the mango apple chia bars, or I pretty much guarantee you're going to love their breakfast bars first thing in the morning when you climb out of that hammock. So take a minute and see what they're creating over at kindsnacks.com/sports and get your 50% off plus free shipping on your first order. That's kindsnacks.com/sports.
Zach, I personally, sleeping on a concrete floor with 2-inch long cockroaches crawling over me, people think that's hard. Going without sleep, eating strange food for weeks on end, people might say that's hard. For me, that wasn't the hard part. The hard part was encountering elephantitis and advanced malaria and seeing what polio does untreated and seeing people with such great needs. I think that was the hard part for me. And I don't know if everyone has what it takes to be in that, It's tough. I don't know that I do, to tell you the truth. I don't know that I do.
Well, so medical professionals in general they come across the same type of emotional thing, even in practice here in the United States. So that sort of you can start to compartmentalize yourself in treating a patient. And get through it and feel it later. I mean, we know how to do that, and we're trained to do that. And if you're not, you learn how to do it real quick. But I'll tell you, it's difficult when you're in a brand new environment where you're not in like this nice hospital. Let's just say in any XYZ, trauma center in the United States, where I've worked in transplant medicine for a number of years and, had the most heart-wrenching stuff in the world. But, I knew that I was going home at 8 o'clock at night or 8 in the morning, and there'd be shift change and I'd compartmentalize it. But when you're living in it for like a month at a time plus, and there's never a time for a shift change. You're always with the same people that you were treating that patient with, so you're always reminded of it. It does wear on you big time. I think the biggest burdensome time for me in that respect is when we were working south of Bor in this leper colony, one of the only leper colonies on the earth left, and it was so sad because literally limbs were falling off of these people.
Wow.
But the fact that they were fine with it, and this is just how life was for them, and we would treat their wounds and we would care for them the best we could, but life was going to go on like this for them, and there was no treatment, and it was so gut-wrenching, like you said, that elephantitis, that sort of thing, you can work towards a treatment with that, and leishmaniasis, that sort of thing, but this was like so permanent with these folks, and they lived like they were back in the Middle Ages still, and it was so gut-wrenching. I think that's another time that will live with me forever like that. And the hardest thing for me to break away from that group, I just wanted to stay there and just treat their wounds forever.
Yeah.
I just felt such a draw, and I'm so concerned about where that group is now during the Civil War. I fear that they've been killed, or they might not be because no one wants to go by them. So it's either they might be the only survivors. So who knows? I'd love to go and find out. So
well, I'm sure someday things will change and you will find out. But holy cow!
Yeah.
You're talking about where the rubber meets the road. This isn't a made-up adventure. This is real life stuff. And It is adventurous. I mean, it takes a special something to put yourself out there like that. And I just got to say thank you on behalf of all these people. I mean, I don't have the right to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway, Zach. Thank you on behalf of all these people that you go out, the lives you touch, the difference you make. It's awesome. Thanks for doing that.
Well, I appreciate it. But, this is... I would hope that we all do our part in some way. That I'm part of a group of people that just get out and do good. And this is just my calling, but that others have theirs and they listen to it and do it. I hope you hear me and look inside yourself and just be like, okay, where is my calling and how am I going to get out and affect really good change in people? And I don't know. That's it. Thank you, but yeah, that's kind of what I'd like to say here.
Yeah, awesome. So. I'm going to change the subject. We've got to talk about Core Third. We're going to run out of time. Core Third. So we did the episode that where we interviewed several different people from Outdoor Retailer, and you were one of those interviews, and we talked about Core Third there, so the listeners can go listen to that to get another perspective. But real fast, you said that you were having generator failures when you were on this airplane doing these surgeries, and you were inspired to come up with a product that could address this, and it crosses over from doing surgeries in Africa to having remote power for all adventures when you're away from the plug-in, right? So what is this?
Yeah, so Core Third came up from idea in 2011, 12 in South Sudan, in Bor, where we were working specifically, where our solar panels and batteries, actually one burned up because of a solar controller that failed, and I vowed that I was going to solve this problem, and I was so fed up with it that there needed to be better, efficient solar panels, because I saw them on people's roofs at that time, and I was like, hey, if it's on your roof, I know it can work for me, so let's get to the bottom of this. So we came back and I worked with some friends of mine who had some experience in that stuff, and I laminated a solar panel, solar cells in between a hazmat suit, and came up with this idea for a panel that could be folded, and it was like a cool casing for it and stuff. And they could also transfer the heat through the back of the panel real easily. And it wasn't this hard canvas stuff that's been out for a number of years that actually trapped heat in. And then we came up with a line of batteries, and we're now specifically going after like USB-based batteries right now, like for USB power. And because we see that as a real need, like travel battery stuff. We're getting into USB-C next, so that like all new computers that are laptops coming out will be with USB-C, so we will be able to power up laptops and even other equipment. We have now solar generators too, 440 watt solar generators that are LiFePO 4 batteries that are just in Nigeria. We're running a Bovie machine for me, a cauterizer, when I was out in a village, and we did we're doing some minor surgeries and stuff. So yeah, this stuff can run a lot of things. It's 300 watt. It can run anything that's 300 watts and lower. So it's definitely a robust little generator, coupled with our 60 watt to 100 watt solar panels. We'll be able to run this stuff. So yeah, it's all great fun stuff that we love designing gear now and coming out with it. We have new stuff that will be coming out in 2017, and we're stoked. So.
Well, I really liked what I saw at Outdoor Retailer. And, of course, I kind of honed in on the backpacking applications for this. Really lightweight. You don't have to take the battery if you can charge when you're in the sunlight. Circuitry so that it doesn't discharge your device when you get into the shade. It's light. It's compact. It's tough. It's everything I've been looking for, so that I can keep a camera or a cell phone or whatever charged when I'm away from power for weeks on end. So I really honed in on that, but the applications in Africa have to be vast.
Yes, they are. And one thing I didn't say, that in sub-Saharan Africa now, everyone has a cell phone. Everyone. The cell phone networks are great. It's about one of the only things that work because it's a real capitalist-based system in terms of communication there. They've really opened it up. And so it works. People are making big time money off of it, and everyone has a cell phone, and everyone's on Facebook, and you name it. I'll get friend requests from everybody I meet, but everyone needs to recharge. That's the thing. So, and there's no outlets.
Right.
So I'll tell you, these are we're starting to sell them in 2 different places in Nigeria and in Kenya, and they're flying off the shelves. They're expensive. We're trying to subsidize them as best we can so they're accessible. And that's based on our U.S. sales. We're subsidizing the Sub-Saharan Africa sales. Yeah, it's pretty fun to see these starting to be used in some really remote areas. So not only for U.S. travelers, but just indige people in general. So it's great.
I like what you said there. The U.S. sales are helping to subsidize the African sales. So there's something we can do right now. If we buy some of your stuff here in the U.S., we're helping out in Africa too. Exactly.
You are. And down the road, we're going to be focusing on, I'll put it this way. I want to be a DC supplier of different, I don't know how much I can go into this, but I want to be able to solve problems with DC power for a sub-Saharan African hut, so that people can start solving problems within their family. Stuff like clean water, stuff like running water, lighting. They're just clothes washing. There's a bunch of different problems that we can solve that help solve by creating technology and really things that will work in the United States and in Sub-Saharan Africa or even parts in Asia. So yeah, it's fun stuff.
When I was in Kenya, one thing that I picked up on was that people are breathing a lot of bad air inside of their huts. They're cooking in there with wood fires. They're using kerosene lanterns because that's the only light they have. And they're breathing some stuff that it just tears up their lungs.
You're right. You're so right. So most cooking fires in Sub-Saharan Africa are inside of huts. They have these cooking huts, and it's mainly women generally have a lot of COPD over there, and it's not because they smoke. It's because they're cooking, and kerosene is expensive to a lot of these people, and LP gas is definitely expensive. So they're cooking with charcoal and wood, and the charcoal trade in general is terrible for the environment. It cuts down a big part of jungle in Sub-Saharan Africa, and it's terrible for the environment all around. Only even to the microenvironment around these women, and they're coming in our clinics with COPD all the time.
So COPD, help us out with that.
Yeah, sorry, chronic obstructed airway disease. So, it's your emphysema, that sort of thing you've seen in the past from smoking. In America we get it because we're smoking cigarettes, but over there, these women will have it because they've been in their cooking huts and for years and years and years. It's really too bad. So yeah, if we could start getting these families away from charcoal, that would be an amazing thing. Away from river water, away from charcoal. If we could figure out those two things, we could really start to see some good change going on.
Well, it sounds like you're well on your way with what you're doing there with Core Third. So how can people get more information? Number one, about the organization you have running the clinic, the hospital in Nigeria, and then number two, about Core Third and your products there.
Yeah, so upon-this-rock-medical-center.org is a great place to go, or hit us up on Facebook at UTR Missions on Facebook. And if you want to donate, great. If you want to come with us, get a hold of me, email me through the website, or you can do Zack, Z-A-C-H, at corethird.com and reach out to me about Africa and come with us. I mean, we take people all the time. We're also drilling wells. We have some water sanitization projects going on, some construction projects. We're definitely expanding in 2017 on that. And then the Core Third side, I'll give a plug here for our products. For your listeners, definitely go and get a 30% off discount using the code MYCORE, no space, just MYCORE. get a 30% off discount. And and all the sales there go to subsidize these products in sub-Saharan Africa, so they're accessible to people groups that are underserved. And we have these 2 retail outlets specifically located in areas so that we can hit those people groups. So it's good stuff.
Very awesome, Zach. You know, what you're telling me really resonates with me, and I'm sure it does with so many other people who heard this today. Thank you for taking the time to tell your story and for sharing with us real-life adventure that is just amazing to me. So I really appreciate your time today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
You bet. And for all of our listeners out there, you know, I always say, until the next show, get out there and have some fun. But, you know, that fun can be life-changing. It can help other people, and it might change your life too. So make it happen. Hey, thank you so much for listening today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please do tell your friends about us. We want to make sure that we can help share the word, encouraging others and inspiring people to have great adventures and to make a difference in their world. Thank you.